Welcome, everybody. It's that time once again. It's Mild's Culture Plate. I am your host, Mild Kevin Miles, and it is Monday, December 25th, 2023. It's Christmas, folks. It's Christmas Day. And my football team lost this morning, so I'm already in a bad mood. Not only am I in a bad mood about that, I kind of want to rant about a few other things that have put me in a bad mood today. Oh, look, and I don't have any of my lights on. So I don't know if you could tell from the little bubble down here. I'm streaming from StreamYard today because if you watched Saturday, we had some audio issues trying to use Rumble Studio. I still have not figured those out. I have tried literally everything I could possibly think of. You know, if you've ever messed with communications audio on a PC, you know that there's a whole situation between choosing the device or choosing stereo mix, and I tried literally every combination of settings. And not only do I have my microphone, but I have like four places to hook up headphones. I have my speakers, two places to hook speakers up in my PC. I have my webcam that has a built-in mic, plus I have like three other audio devices hooked up to my computer. And again, sorry for the squeaky chair. I'm gonna get that right here pretty soon. I don't even have chat brought up here. Let me bring chat up real quick. If you're out there, go ahead and get chat brought up. Doesn't look like anyone's commenting yet. You know what? Let me go ahead and yeah, I kind of ran out of time. I scheduled this stream right for 4:30 Central, so let me post links on X. Sorry, folks. You bear with me. I'm gonna give you a whole hour's worth of stream here. If you'll just bear with me here on the kickoff here. Live now. Okay. Copy. Here, let me add a thumbnail to it. Okay, now let the peoples over on Ricada's Locals know that I'm streaming. Because that's where I get a lot of my audience from. And again, I'm mostly doing this stream because I try, for one, I try every holiday to put together. Yeah, a lot of people are off on holidays, and while a lot of live streamers also take the day off on holidays, I kind of do the opposite. Since I'm not at my real life job, I figure a lot of other people are, sitting around the house bored like I am. And so, what? Draft? No, publish. What the fuck? Oh, okay. Yeah, it's there. All right. Let me post it in Ricada's chat real quick. Okay. So yeah, that's what I'm doing here. I tend to try to do a stream every holiday. This won't be a drinking stream. So even though I always start off the show with, as always, we're going to be giving a toast to everyone, I'll still be giving shout outs, and we'll still be, chit-chatting with the chat and making this what we can make of it. Let me go ahead and throw my overlay up since we can still use it as of now on this. Right. Does say we have a couple viewers out there. So, yeah. And you know what? Let me check over on the Twitter. If you're watching me on the Twitter, let me check to see if we've got any viewers over there. Not quite yet. Nobody in the chat. Let's see how that comes up. Oh, okay. Yep. I can see that on StreamYard. All right. So we're good to go, folks. We are good to go. So if you watched Saturday's stream, I talked a little bit about comic books and how it kind of relates to collecting and gift giving and people who are, for lack of a better term, picky about the gifts they receive, including myself, right? Wait, oh, okay, that's weird. Picky about the gifts they receive. And we had a little conversation about that. I'm going to be addressing yet another philosophical topic from the viewpoint of a comic book fan. So if that really pissed you off that I did that the other day, we're going to have to do that again today. And oh my Lord, my window with all my open. Okay, there's that. Okay, I had two topics brought up, and for some reason I clicked off of both of them to check other things going on Twitter. But so let's do that. We'll start with the sort of more boring one first, and then I'll jump into an actual other philosophical discussion that I got from an argument that I had today. Okay, so we'll start with the argument I had today, and then we'll get to another one that started with kind of a funny post on Twitter that I started having some deep thoughts about, and I started typing out a long ass tweet that would have eventually wound up with a whole tweet thread. And I thought, what better way to handle this than to just talk about it on my show? Instead of getting into the nitty gritty details of all the 5 or 6 different points I wanted to make and try to squeeze them into tweets, because that's another thing. I don't do long tweets anymore because I'm trying to save some money after the holidays here. I'm trying not to have to pay for a bunch of unnecessary subscriptions, and the $8 a month to Twitter just isn't worth it for me right now. I'm probably going to start paying again pretty soon, but for right now, the tweets are too short for me to really. And plus, when you're on Twitter, there's a such thing as too long didn't read. A lot of people don't want to read 4 paragraphs of a reply. And so I got into this argument earlier, and I've had a lot of people dragging me for my opinion on this. So I don't know how many of you out there are Batman fans, but I kind of got in a disagreement with somebody about the way Batman is written. And I got a bigger, without getting into the nitty gritty about, being a Batman nerd and all the Batman stuff, it leads to a bigger conversation that people just did not seem to get. People did not seem to understand. And so, this isn't it. I thought this was it, but this is not it. Okay. So again, do not contact any of these people. Do not contact any of these people. But it started off somebody talking about giving Batman a emotional, making him emotional and vulnerable, right? So let me show this series of tweets on my screen here. So someone says, you know, something about this Batman is experienced, and Frank Miller already did dark introspection with Year One. This Batman isn't going to be emotional or vulnerable at all. Nothing psychological or introspective about my Batman. So whoever the heck. Um, oh, okay. So it started off, I forgot about this part. It started off where people were talking about the white eyes, whether or not Batman's eyes should be whited out. And a lot of people were like, well, Batman, that, you tell emotion through your eyes. So if you're going to have a live action Batman display his emotions, and so we there was a little internal discussion that people were having about Batman showing his emotions. And then I said, this is my problem with Batman writers. Batman is supposed to be psychological, not emotional. The franchise is for psych nerds. Every villain is a representation of identity, ego, personality, schizophrenia, etc. He's supposed to be the stoic, grounded one in a universe gone crazy. And then someone said, how can someone be emotional? So the person replied, how can someone be emotional but not psychological? And of course, you might have seen some of the hatred down there. Please don't contact these people. And I said, if you have to ask, you don't understand Batman. Batman keeps his emotions in check. It doesn't mean he doesn't feel them. It doesn't mean the reader viewer can't tell it affects him. He methodically and scientifically handles his own psyche and villains in a way that doesn't allow him to lose perspective and control of the situation. People ruled, it was supposed to be ruled, but I typo there, by their emotions are incapable of that introspection. This is why Tom King's run is so unpopular. And then he says, how can someone be emotional but not psychological? So now this is where it comes in, because this is right when I started getting a lot of people hating on my first post, because we're quote tweeting each other in the replies. And a lot of people that were seeing my part of the conversation weren't necessarily seeing my responses. And then so I said, anyway. So yeah, that's how that went down. So yeah, let me stop sharing for just a moment. So that's when I responded with this. One of the great things about Batman writing is the few times he is allowed to be, oh wait, damn it. We missed one here. Okay, so I said, what do words mean? Being emotional isn't simply experiencing an emotion. It's displaying that emotion outwardly. The Dark Knight part of his persona is stoic and rarely lets his emotions be on display. And so, yeah, I really got this vibe that people don't understand the difference between being emotional and being stoic, right? Being stoic is being calm and almost without any emotion. This is from Google. When you're stoic, you don't show what you're feeling, and you also accept whatever is happening. The noun stoic is a person who's not very emotional. The adjective stoic describes any person, action, or thing that seems emotionless and almost blank, right? And then what does it mean to be emotional? They show their feelings very openly, especially because they're upset. He's a very emotional man. I don't get as emotional as I once did. Synonyms: passionate, enthusiastic, sentimental, fiery. More synonyms of emotional. Yeah, this is from Collins Dictionary. Once again, shown by Google. Let me stop sharing again for a moment. And so this is what's going on. So we're having this conversation. And then... So then I said, I never once implied that he said he's stoic without the emotional drive to avenge his parents and protect those he loves, then he's not Batman. He may not always show them, but his emotions drive and define him. And I said, I never once implied that his emotions weren't the driving force behind his actions. They very much are. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that point, and we, the reader, can get that from his internal monologue. But the people of Gotham and the Justice League never see that. Okay? And then around the same time, and Mind you, we're gonna get to a point here where I'm not necessarily talking about Batman, but I'm talking about people. Okay, that's when I said, yeah, one of the great things about Batman writing is the few times he's been allowed to be rightfully emotional, everyone told him he was wrong and irrational. It was out of character for him. So I want you all to understand that, okay? Because, Nick Rekieta has a, men don't cry in public kind of rule of thumb. I mean, obviously there are times that men cry, right? But the idea is you don't want to cry in front of your haters. And look, I've definitely gotten pretty heated on this show. I've definitely gotten pretty emotional on this show, and I've shown some of my vulnerabilities on this show. But I wouldn't say I've gotten emotional. And so, again, the difference for me between being psychological and emotions is understanding your own psychology, right? You can be driven by your emotions, but not display your emotions. Not let your emotions take over your agency and your actions. If anybody's out there, tell me if this makes sense to y'all, right? Tell me if it makes sense. Okay, let's share screen. So let's get into the funner topic here. So this is kind of going viral. I try my best not to watch whatever. Like, I personally think, like, it's not necessarily staged. It might be staged. But it seems like all this shit that happens on the Whatever podcast, to me, it's like 3 intellectual levels under me. And so, right? They get the stupidest women, right? And then they get a guy that's also stupid, but maybe a little less stupid, who's a little smarter than her, to shit all over her, right? Like this is almost what happens every time on the Whatever podcast. Every time I tune in, they do shit like this. And so I can't watch more than 10 minutes of it. I literally can't. I mean, I watched about half an episode last week when I was in a bad mood because I frankly wanted to be in a bad mood. I wanted to stay in my bad mood. And so I was able to watch more than 10 minutes of it. But it's not often I'm able to sit through more than 5 minutes of this drivel. And every clip I see is the same shit that pisses me off. So again, because I'm using this source that is the Whatever podcast, because I saw this on Twitter earlier, and, again, I wanted to reply. I wanted to inject myself into the conversation, so to speak, that was being had. But I didn't want to respond to these people. I didn't want to respond in the tweet. It's like the conversation's worth having. It's just these fucking people shouldn't be having it, right? So let's hear what these folks have to say.
I can tell you how men and women can't be equal. You want me to tell you?
Yes.
Okay. If you are to look at force in society, who would you say has the monopoly on force, men or women?
The government. The government. Literally. The government. The government has a monopoly on force. Now, again, everyone's going to agree that men have a monopoly on force just because. And again, I can't even I hate the word monopoly, right? Because a monopoly would imply that they're the only ones with the capability. I am sorry, just about, it's not just men, animals, children, people are vicious. Right? Living beings are vicious. Every living thing has the capability, just about every living thing with agency has the capability to exert force over another. My dog was playing with me earlier, pinned my arm down, and started biting on my hand. That's a level of force. But I think he's implying something greater, right? He's implying this societal agreement that we, the human species, as the most sentient creatures on the planet, which some would disagree with, but we are the dominant sentient species on the planet, have exerted dominance, and the demographic of our, the biologically viewable demographic that has the most advantage when it comes to physical dominance among men, among humans, is men, right? Now, you could break that down into other demographics, but for the sake of their argument, like, men are the most physically violent, capable beings on planet Earth. Now, granted, there are definitely things that can kill a man, right? But mankind, men teaming together, can wipe out just about anything on the planet. So when he uses the term monopoly of force, look, I hate it, but I understand what he's getting at, and I understand these are the parameters he's setting for the conversation, right? It's not that they have a monopoly on force, it's that they have, like, they are the prescribed people amongst our society who have the highest capability to exert force, and therefore they have a responsibility to utilize it in a smart way. But again, we'll listen to what they have to say, because this really gets into a big difference between men and women conversation when he's asking these questions to these women. And I kind of have a problem with the way this whole conversation is framed. So let's listen to what he has to say. I don't even know who this gentleman is.
Men on brute men. That's the biology.
They have the monopoly on physical force. So that
Okay, so again, I disagree, but here we go. So he's going to follow up.
question, when it comes down to rights, is who can enforce rights. Women can't enforce their own rights. Men.
Okay. See, this is my problem, right? These takes are being passed off as red pill. These takes are being passed off as conservative. These takes are being passed off as, well, they're intelligent philosophical conversations that men are having about gender and their role in society. And you've already fucking taken the biggest leap you can take, right? Women don't have the capability to enforce. Now, look, physically, you're correct. Physically, you're correct. But again, one assumes that the only way to acquire influence, the only way to acquire rights, the only way to acquire status in a society is through violent force, through a physical act. That's not true. That's simply not true. And damn you for playing in to the feminist narrative that is the backbone of all of these government policies, like the Duluth power control model that just assumes only men are violent. When you make this argument, A, she's about to give the only response one can have to this argument. Not this. And again, this is unfortunate. Here, let me play this out a little more, because I don't like looking at this lady.
Have to enforce women's rights, so there can never be real equality. There
Okay.
can never be real
This
equality.
is what the men fuck? That is like so violent.
Okay, we'll look at this lady's boobs for a minute. And she's okay. So this African American lady here is about to give the only response one can give to this, and that is, well, if men are the only ones that can have a monopoly on force, well, then who's forcing us to have a risk of our rights being violated? And if you've already agreed to the premise that only men can use force, well, that would just mean, well, it's men that have to protect us from men. Which I reject wholeheartedly. Women can be just as vicious. Women can be just as violent. Women can take your rights. Women can steal from you. Women can stab you. Women can poison you. Women can women can influence other men to be violent to you. Right? As we've seen Will Smith. Excuse me. So this idea that men are the only ones with the agency to hurt other people, and therefore men are the only ones with the agency and capability to protect someone from being hurt? No. No. Quite frankly, if you have a matriarch, a woman who has influenced a lot of strong young men, she could use that influence to have those men protect someone else, protect someone else's rights. So yes, men are involved. Men are involved. Don't get me wrong. Men are part of the equation. But there are also some tough women. Just say it's all women. You could just have all women in the scenario. You have strong, violent women, and you have one individual, and they got a numbers advantage or something. This isn't a gendered issue. This is not a gendered issue. And by you making it a gendered issue, now look, we can have the conversation. And I think this is what he's alluding to. I said it's alluding to. Is the narrative of the patriarchy, right? The narrative that men are a patriarchy and that, men rule the society because we're stronger, right? Because we have to act with a soft hand instead of being emotional, as we heard earlier. They're more stoic. They have to keep their feelings in check. The reason the patriarchy, as much as it does exist, is the point he's trying to make here. But again, the rule proves the exception, right? Because the rule exists means there are exceptions to the rule. Now, that's not every rule, obviously. But in this case, the rule proves the exception. Anyway, let's listen to the rest of this clip real quick.
In nature, even what you just said, like,
hang on, just hear me out.
Yeah.
Inside of your society, you have rights. Those rights need to be enforced, right? So somebody doesn't violate them. Right? Here's how. Whenever...
Okay, no, they're not enforced, they're exercised. See, this is what pisses me off, because this is such a leftist bullshit thing, right? Is we have rights and we have to enforce those rights, and government's there to enforce rights, and government, again, he's going to go on to talk about soldiers and police, and no, rights are exercised. Rights are like a muscle, right? You're born with it, with an ability. It's like a superpower. You're born with it. God bestowed it upon you, and you exercise it. It takes a forceful person to violate your rights. Your rights shouldn't need protecting because they just exist. They only need protecting when someone else stomps on them. So, already he's putting the cart before the horse. He's saying you need people with the capability to exert force to protect your rights. Well, that's only true because people with the ability to exert force are trying to take my rights. And again, they're going to agree that it's a man-woman thing, but it's not. It could be anybody. It could be anybody. And most of the time, it's just government. So this idea that women have equal rights because men allow it to happen, well, that's because men are compassionate. But we can't discount the ability that men can be tyrants. And we need to call tyrants out when we see them. And bring them down a peg if we can. Without being hypocrites, without violating their rights, and without being overly violent to them unnecessarily. So let's listen to the rest of this.
You need criminals dealt with in society. It's men who are going to be dealing with the criminals. You're going to be putting them in the jails. They're going to be enforcing your laws. They're going to be protecting you while you sleep through the military.
Who are women's rights protecting us from, though?
Well, they're not really protecting anybody from anything. They're an illusion.
Oh, they're an illusion, right? Women's rights are an illusion. Your right to safety, your right to privacy, your right to freedom of speech, those are all illusions, right? And when your rights are violated by someone, I don't know, coming up, knocking your camera out of your hand, or treating you like shit on the job, or silencing you in other ways, shapes, and forms, or breaking into your house and going through your shit or stealing from you. And again, I reject the notion that she just laid forth that it's only men doing those things. I reject that. I reject it wholeheartedly. But again, he follows up not by responding to what she said and calling it out, because he's already conceded the point that women are just weak, incapable creatures with no agency, and that men are the only ones that can be responsible, right? He's already conceded the point. So he has to go further down the rabbit hole. And the taking of rights is an illusion.
It's illusory. I can tell you how men and women can't be equal. You want me to tell?
And again, we don't get to really see the rest of the exchange. We don't get to see the follow up in this clip. It makes me kind of want to go find the episode, right? It makes me want to go find the episode and really get to the bottom of the rest of the conversation. But again, this is one of my problems with the Whatever podcast. Is like, yeah, once you get into a meaty part of the discussion, then everyone starts yelling over each other, and the conversation, like, you get these 3 layers deep into it. They've already strayed so far from the original conversation that, like, if they stray any further from the conversation or say anything dumber than what they've already said, like, they've completely lost me. And I'm pretty sure that's what was about to happen. They was about to go down some rabbit hole and have a bunch of disagreements about some shit that isn't even real. Because like I said, him getting to the point where, your rights being violated is an illusory thing. No. Or being able to protect someone's rights is an illusory thing. Unless he goes down the same path I went down, being like, no, rights are exercised. But he already started off with the premise that no, your rights are inherently given to you by men protecting them. Folks, it's a damn shame. And so Nate Higgers is trending on Twitter right now. And I responded by talking about haters. I called them Naters. Right? Nader's gonna Nate. And I put Outlast Naters. Folks, so one of the things I did test during this stream, so now that I've kind of given up, oh, you know what I've done? I left Discord running in the background because I tried everything. I tried asking people on Twitter. I tried asking people on Discord. I tried everything I could try to get an answer to how I get screen share audio to work on Rumble Studio. Sorry about that. My girlfriend is over at a family Christmas get-together, and she's giving me an update on when she's going to be home. Wow. So yeah, it's been one of those days where everyone is annoying the piss out of me. And again, this is me being emotional again. But overall, it's been a really good Christmas. I've got to reconnect with some family members who I haven't seen for a long time. I got to talk to my father, who I hadn't talked to for a really long time. Not today. It was the other day before I went live. I told you all about it on my last stream. And yeah, even though my football team lost, it's been, kind of interesting to follow the narratives of the NFL, so to speak. It's all fake, right? It's as fake as WWE wrestling, I'm pretty convinced of that. Oh my. What else did I find on the Twitter today? Oh, okay, yeah. We got this. Folks, if you're not pissed off, you're not paying attention. Marine Paul Whelan is spending his 5th Christmas in a Russian prison cell. He still has 11 more left. Instead of freeing him, Biden traded the Russian merchant of death for an anti-American WNBA player. I saw somebody ask on Twitter earlier today, what is one conspiracy theory that takes legitimacy away from other conspiracy theories? And I say, this is the problem, right? It's true. It happens. And it's an unfortunate thing about quote conspiracy theory investigations and questioning official narratives. They're right. It does. To the masses, a lot of people will turn their brains off if they hear something they don't agree with or something that seems too fantastical, which is, I think that's rather unfortunate, because oftentimes that allows the media to get away with false narratives. If we were more open-minded as a species to look just half a layer beneath the surface and at least understand why people are asking questions, right? Because the most common answer underneath that meme in the comments, people would say flat earth. Look, I have no belief personally in the flat earth theory. I've seen some things that's like, okay, that's an interesting take on it. I've never been to space, right? I mean, part of the argument is nobody's been to space. But I've never been to space, so it's something I'm never going to prove or disprove, right? My individual lifestyle, my individual life is going to take place with my feet planted on terra firma. I may take an occasional flight on a plane somewhere, but that's as high as I'm going to get. That's the furthest view I'm going to be able to get to see what the Earth really looks like. And to me, that, I can't run that kind of, I can't run that kind of an investigation, right? I can't experiment in those ways. And most people can't. So they just automatically assume that, look, if you're a flat earther, then you're a dipshit, right? If you're a flat earther, then, It's like believing in Santa Claus, right? But for me, like I said, I see these people, they're asking questions. They're curious why physics work in certain ways. They're curious why the earth rotates certain ways or whatever, whatever their arguments are, they have questions. And granted, those answers may be out there, but they're not for me to answer. So I don't automatically just assume these people are dipshits and idiots, right? They're people literally asking questions. We never, we'd like to think we grow out of our inquisitive stage, right? There's the whole, children asking, where do babies come from? Well, that's easy. It's easy to tell them the truth, but it's also very graphic. And really, when you get down to brass tacks, our entire abortion debate about whether or not a fetus has a spirit, whether it's a person yet, it's still part of our questioning. Where do babies come from, right? We're adults and we still haven't figured out these most basic questions about our reality around us. So, while crazy, whacked out, wild conspiracy theories, there's a time and a place for them. I expect to hear that kind of thing, on late night AM radio, right? The whole Art Bell, Coast to Coast AM, George Norrie, whatever, right? You expect to hear it in those areas. You don't really expect your politicians to talk about it. You don't really expect your mainstream news figures to talk about things like aliens, death rays, chemtrails, flat earth. But people have valid questions about all of the above, right? It's part of understanding the universe around us. And look, you're not going to get me on this show often covering things like chemtrails, covering things like aliens, covering things like ghosts. Why? Because those are topics so big I can't prove or disprove them. I found interesting information. I talk about philosophy. I talk about media narratives. I talk about the ways in which humans interact with one another. And topics like that, again, going back to the abortion debate, part of the reason the abortion debate is so fierce is you have two sides that essentially cannot 100% prove every aspect of their theorem, which holds true for some of the craziest conspiracy theories out there. And I say craziest, not as a derogatory term for anyone who believes in those things. Because like I said, I believe you're just asking questions. But I say craziest in the sense that the normies are automatically going to think you're weird, right? It's not going to conform to society's view. And I'm not saying you always should. I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but hopefully you folks are having a wonderful Christmas, right? If you're working right now, as a lot of people do on the holidays, if you're driving a truck, man, you have my ultimate sympathy, man. I worked a lot of Christmases in my lifetime. I'm finally blessed to have a job where I could have Christmases off. That's why I wanted to be here to chit chat with you folks. But anyway, back to what I was saying. I don't hate anybody. I'm here to outlast the haters. I'm here to outlast the haters. But yeah, the normies are going to use the most fringe of our opinions against us. I'm sure there's going to be a time and a day where someone takes some of my rants about polyamory and about relationships and call me a cuck. You know, take me out of context. Call me a cuck. Call me, you know, every name in the book. Right? And act like I just don't know anything about relationships. Right? Because, you know, I've got a relatively low body count. Relatively low body count. But because, you know, I'm not slaying whores and I don't believe in marriage. So you have these two extremes, right? That I just don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And so, like, I know that's going to happen. I expect that to happen. People are going to take our most fringe points of view and use that to attack us, to tear us down. But what happens when the shoe's on the other foot and they have skeletons in their closet or they have things they are ashamed of? Because every human being has something. Has something. This is the point of my Love Does Admonish segment, by the way. Every person has something that they're a little insecure about. People seem to think I'm insecure about my looks. You wouldn't believe how many times I get in conversations on Twitter about relationships, or men and women, or how shitty women act in the dating pool. And then somebody will just repost my picture like I'm supposed to be ashamed that I'm an ugly fuck. No, I know I'm an ugly fuck. I don't care. I don't care. I still deserve to be treated like a human being, and I still deserve the right to expect whatever woman I'm dating to act like a human being and not some fucking queen of whatever, you know, like, are you telling me I don't deserve love unless I look like Brad Pitt or make 7 figures? And again, that sounds like an emotional argument, and I'm not trying to go there. I'm just saying, it's like, you act like I'm trying to go to bed with Taylor Swift or something. No, I'm not. I understand the playing in my own ball league, right? I'm not batting out of my league when I date. Oh, that's a good thing to talk about. And I meant to I meant to talk about this. I meant to have this ready. Where's my profile? Let's talk about that. Why don't we? There's a post that went viral from Jordan Peterson today. It's been going viral the last couple days. And I kind of made a little post on Twitter earlier. Kind of made a post a little earlier on Twitter that expressed my disappointment over this. Okay, Jordan Peterson says, one of the things I've told men over and over again is if you're being rejected by all the women you approach, it's not the women, it's you. I mean, sure, there's an element of truth to there. You know, just like there's an element of truth to the guy earlier who was spouting off shit about men using force. There's an element of truth here. There's a lesson to be learned from this. And I'm not saying Dr. Peterson is wrong, right? He's not wrong. Oh, look, my Rumble app is letting me know that Miles Culture Plate is streaming. Okay. He's not wrong, he's just wrong, right? He's got the feeling right, but he's got the details wrong. And what I said in response was that I'm getting huge, so what you're saying is, quote unquote, vibes from the guy who was once on the other side of the table in the, quote, so what you're saying is meme. You were supposed to destroy Kathy Newman, not become her. And then the top guy here. So if I get rejected by 109 women, I'm the problem. You know, here's the issue. When I was talking earlier about batting in your own league, right? If I eliminated my standards, I'm not even saying reduced my standards, right? Because you could reduce your standards and still see a situation where the dating market is a disaster. If you completely eliminate your standards, right? I could go around lying to women. I could go around flirting with women. It's not like I can't. And again, I have a partner, right? I have a very loyal, very loving, very giving partner. But if I was to enter the dating field right now, I know. Like, I could bag all the women I wanted to, but I'd have to be a scumbag to do it. Right? I wouldn't be able to bring home 9s and 10s and supermodels. I could bring home 1s all day, 2s all day, big, fat, huge, ugly, fucking warts on their face. You know, serious health conditions. Women who are bitches and liars and fakes, and the kind of woman who, you know, will poke holes in your condoms, tattooed from head to toe, piercings. If I just wanted to throw all my standards out the window, I'm sure I could get laid all day long. All day, every day. Have women lined up around the block. And that's not just standards of them. Standards in myself, too. Like, I go out there and just misrepresent myself and be a liar, be a cheat, be a man whore. That's not the fucking point, Dr. Peterson. The point is, when a man sets standards for himself, right? When a man expects his wife to, or expects his partner, right, to be feminine, right? To be a partner, a teammate, to be semi-pleasant, right? When the base standards for 90% of men is that, you know, you be breathing, you not be completely disabled. Like, a lot of guys will take disabled women, but like, you literally, your brain has to have some function there, right? You can't be a vegetable with no arms, no legs, and no agency, right? Let me be very clear about that. Like, there's nothing wrong with loving someone with disabilities, but, you know, for a mutual, romantically beneficial relationship, the person has to at least be able to manufacture consent into the relationship, right? And you have to have, you know, I won't even say a pleasant personality, but not be an evil fucking witch, right? Not be the most hateful fucking person on the planet. Right? The minimum fucking standard for a relationship. And then you go to that woman and say, well, but what do you look for in a partner? Right? What's she going to say? What's she going to say? 6'6", 6 figures, 6-inch penis, 6 feet tall. What do you do? What do you do if you're a warehouse worker that's 5 feet tall and have a, 5-inch penis? What do you do? Does that mean you have to rape people? You have to lie to people? You have to do all the things I just said, like, you know, having not have standards for yourself. Huh? This quote here by Jordan Peterson. If you're being rejected by all the women you approach, it's not the women, it's you. What do you do? What do you do when 80% of the population automatically rejects you because you're not 6 feet tall? What do you do if you've got a micro penis? I don't. I want to make that very fucking clear. I don't. Not saying I'm fucking King Dingaling here, but what do you do? What do you do when you know that, like, the top 3 things that are automatically going to scratch you off of a woman's list? You're never going to measure up. You're never going to measure up. Do those people not deserve love? What are they supposed to change, huh? Are they supposed to win the lottery? Are they supposed to go through penis enlargement surgery? Are they supposed to, you know, break their legs and put extensions on them till they get taller? It's you. It's not the women. It's not the women who, that's their 3 main standards, right? It's not the 80% of women. It's the 10% of men. I just said, for a man, most women don't even have to have a job. You don't have to work. Right? Like I just said, you know, for a lot of men, you can even be disabled. Men have pretty low standards. Be pretty, be naked, be quiet, there's a famous funny song that was on the internet a few years back. Be pretty, be naked, be quiet. Some man will love you. Some man somewhere will love that. That's all you have to do, is be a decent companion to someone. And that's considered oppression. Oh, why do I have to be pretty? Why can't you just love me the way I roll out of bed? Excuse the fuck out of me. For Jordan Peterson to act like there is not a... Now, again, he's got a point here. He's got a point. There's only one person that can do anything about your interaction with other people, and that's you. Right? You're not going to change the whole world of women overnight. You're just not going to. And this is the other issue between men and women that's the big fucking... People act like it's the big fucking secret, right? Women act like that they're and they are kind of making some progress, but they act like they're just complaining is going to change things overnight. For example, sexual assault. Well, men should just learn not to grape. Men should be taught not to grape. Well, you shouldn't teach women that they have to protect themselves from complete strangers. Men should just learn not to grape. Okay, well, what do we do in the meantime? It's going to take a while to overcome predators' instincts to be a fucking predator. What should we do in the meantime? And so I kind of agree with Dr. Peterson here. You're not going to correct women's shitty behavior overnight. So you kind of got to couch your expectations in the meantime and try to be a little different. Try to better yourself in ways. And that's really the message you can take from Jordan Peterson. Is there are ways you can be a better man, right? You can lift weights. You may not be able to get taller, but you can get shredded. Right? Get out, be more social, interact with people more, learn how to make small talk with strangers. Because one issue that I really see with a lot of fucking terminally online men, right? A lot of men who spend way too much time on the internet. One problem, and including myself, one problem that we have is it's hard to have conversations with people in real life after we're used to having them online. Right? You know, we're so used to the visual stimuli, right? That we expect that everyone we encounter is already prejudging us. That's not the case. So it takes a little while to get out of the shyness. Took me a long time. Shit, I still get really fucking nervous talking to new people who I think are hot. But you see, that's just it. As the old saying goes, there are no women on the internet, right? So everyone you're talking to on the internet is literally just an internet avatar. Talking to a real woman, you're not just an online representation of who that woman is, but you're actually face to face with a real woman with real emotions on the line. Guys get intimidated, and it takes a while to unlearn that intimidation and realize that, look, just because I think she might be a cute, hot woman doesn't mean I should talk to her in any way different than I would talk to a dude about football or talk to an old lady about her grandson, right? Those same conversations can happen with quote unquote hot chicks. The problem is there's this inner drive within men to want to peacock, right? Like we see someone hot, we want them to like us. We want them to see something in us that they don't see in the everyman. And we get in our own way. We get in our own way. And we try to be the sex symbol. What we don't realize is oftentimes, if it's a compatible woman, she's not looking for the sex symbol. She's looking for the human being underneath. We spend so much time trying to get into their pants that we don't let them into our brains. And I'm not saying be emotional. Definitely don't fucking be emotional. But be witty. Just as you would be, making a little joke to an old lady. Or a sports bro. So again, if anyone's alone out there on Christmas, I'm sorry if I made you feel even more lonely by pointing this out. Oh, and here's a video.
At women, I would say to young men who are irritated at women is, if you're irritated at women, as a class of creature, there's something wrong with you because they're right. You're wrong. They're right to not pick you. If they're not picking you, it's because they're right.
I mean, look, again, there's a sliver of truth to this. But also, we as a society have given women far too much power over the mating strategies, right? We have millions of loser guys that are willing to shower any mildly attractive woman with simpery, praise, money, attention. Right? It's hard to have and look, I sympathize with women. It's hard to have a genuine emotional connection with someone when everyone who's giving you attention just wants in your fucking pants. Just wants to see your tits. I get it. Jordan Peterson's making a good point here. The problem is then he extrapolates and says, well, women as a creature type. Well, okay, yeah. There's exceptions to the rule. But the rule exists for a reason. The rule is that, as the data on OkCupid a few years back showed, 85% of men are rated under average, below average, by average women. That doesn't make sense. That is a statistical anomaly. Why don't average women see average men as average? They don't. They see them as below average, aka below being worth my time. So again, to act like this isn't society's problem. It is a society problem, but it's also an individual problem. As an individual, you're going to have to overcome society's problems. Agreed. But we also have a crossroads before us where our population rate is declining. Our culture is getting more and more degraded. And again, until we can change the narrative that men are violent, hairy, beast-like creatures, not deserving of love and compassion. And again, I'm not trying to make an emotional argument. This is not emotional. This is purely philosophical. I'm happy in my life. I have the things I need. I fought for the things I wanted. And though my life is definitely not fucking the life of a luxurious millionaire, I live a very quaint middle-class lifestyle to where I have achieved almost every goal I have ever set for myself. Sure, do I wish some things about it had went a lot differently? Sure. But those have been areas of growth in my life that has enabled me to have the philosophies I have now, to have the values I have now, that allow me to enjoy the way my life has went and have taught me valuable lessons in how I interact with the world around me. So again, this isn't an emotional appeal. This is simply me, philosophically, talking about the world around me in very real terms. We have a serious problem with the way women behave in our society. And then secondly, that women blame men for the existence of that imbalance.
It wasn't like I was particularly successful with girls when I was young. So
okay, but you're fucking married.
Like. I know
okay.
what fear is like. I don't know it as well as some men know it because I wasn't rejected outright.
Okay, but look, and this is my problem with Jordan Peterson. This is my problem with Nick Rekieta. This is my problem with the guys at the Daily Wire. You're married, okay? I was married once, right? I've had a few short-term relationships. I'm 42. I've had several relationships last more than 3 years. 3 years. I don't casually date. Women fall in love with me. I want to be very fucking clear about that. Women fall in love with me. For guys like Jordan Peterson or Matt Walsh or Nick Rekieta, who are still in love, still attached to the woman you brought to the high school dance or college dance, to still be waking up next to that woman every day, you're very privileged. And it's easy for you to look at other men and say, well, you didn't achieve what I achieved. You must have failed somewhere. Because you failed, that must be your fault. I did the thing. I loved women. I loved women hard. Maybe this is a little bit of an emotional appeal, but I'm speaking from experience, not emotion here. that didn't guarantee me a happy life. Didn't guarantee me a partner who would respect me the way I respected the institution of marriage. And so to tell the millions of single men around the world, well, no, he's, be the kind of man a woman wants to marry. Well, now it's easy for you to say. You understand what rejection feels like, but there was a point in time where you stopped being rejected and you've never had to look back since. You haven't had to evolve. You haven't had to grow past the person you were when you received the first rejection, like you're advocating all these other men do. The suicide rate in our country for men is at fucking critical levels right now. It's went down slightly after the pandemic, but it's still a huge factor in how men live their lives. So, how fucking dare you? How fucking dare you? It takes two to tango, fella. And if you want to tango and everyone else in your sphere of influence is fucking square dancing, good luck. Because here's the thing. If a woman can't get 6 inches, 6 figures, and 6 feet tall, they make toys, they make OnlyFans. There are ways in which a woman can get by without a man. But the companionship that a man expects out of a wife, generally, again, I'm generally speaking, the loyalty and companionship that a man expects out of a wife, you can't stuff that in a box or on a website. You can get a little bit of the companionship if you have a really close bro, like a close friend or a close family member. But even then, you're not going to get what you get out of having a wife. You're not going to get what you get out of having a girlfriend, having a partner, a mate. It's beyond the sexual. Get your mind out of the gutter, people. I'm not telling people to go be gay. I'm not telling people not to be gay. Whatever floats your boat. But don't be gay. Just kidding. Seriously, though. The idea that men as providers can be replicated in a relationship, that our value to women as a species, when we've had propaganda for 70 years now of feminists telling women and men that we don't need men, we can do anything a man can do, and we can do it better with heels on and 6 months pregnant, right? That has affected the ability for people to find one another. The ability for people to find love, find companionship, to not be lonely, to not be suicidal, to not hate themselves. And your response to guys who have a problem with women is, well, no, you're the fucking problem, buddy. I think it's a little short-sighted myself. I think it's a little short-sighted. And he's, like I said, he's got a point. The only person that can really make a change on an individual level is the person themselves. So I'm not willing to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? I'm not willing to discount the whole argument, but I'm saying it's not seeing the forest from the trees. And definitely Jordan Peterson calls out both, right? He talks about the hierarchical. He talks about the value structure of human beings. You know, he's talked about some of these things. And I truly believe he's got the best intentions. He wants men to better themselves. He wants men to hold themselves to a higher standard. I ultimately want that too. But the blame lays at the feet of feminism, of the media, of the narrative in our society that men are violent, dangerous creatures. The men are only good for having a big cock and being tall and buff. And the average woman knows that deep down. The average woman knows that deep down, and yet still will say, well, no, that's the ideal mate, and I'm not going to settle because I could also have this lifestyle of technology, and the police will protect me. I can make money on my own, and I can get sexual satisfaction and gratification without the risk of giving my heart to someone who's not worth it. Okay, good trade-off. Good trade-off. All right, so let's listen to the rest of this here.
So, but what you have to understand is that, what do you expect from women? If you got pregnant because you had sex, you'd be pretty damn choosy too. So.
Okay, but they're not. They're not though. They're not. You know, this is, and again, this is going to sound like hashtag nice guy, right? I could see it now. Somebody's going to find this fucking clip and go hashtag nice guy on me. That's not the point I'm getting at. But come on, how many women out there with any degree of attractiveness whatsoever gets pregnant by fucking losers? How many women out there are getting pregnant by fucking losers? It's everywhere. You find me a single mom and then show me the dad, right? Now, granted, there are a lot of men out there working their ass off, right? And trying to make it work, and tried to make it work with her, and she ran away. But again, that tells me she wasn't picky in that way too. Like, she had the right guy and fucking walked away, probably to choose another loser. So you show me a single mom and I'll show you somebody who most likely chose a loser. Either the guy she got pregnant with had a loser, or she ran away from the guy she got pregnant with to go bang a loser. And again, like I said, I know this sounds like hashtag nice guy, right? But no. There are actual fucking nice guys in our society who get overlooked because, oh, hey, look, that guy's got muscles and tattoos and a fucking fast car and a guitar. And look, at one point in my life, I was the guy with the fast car and the guitar. I didn't have, big muscles or money, but I had a fast car and a guitar, and that was enough. So again, I'm not trying to play the hashtag nice guy thing, but this idea that women are choosy. Look, I just went on this whole rant about how women are choosy, but women are choosy because they're pregnant. No, if you cared about the quality of motherhood, right? You cared about the quality of the genetics that you're receiving. Yeah, that a lot of women would be making a lot different choices than what they're making now. Period.
Clue in a bit, and then, well, don't they find you attractive? Well, maybe you're not. Like, have you paid attention to how you dress? Do you have a plan? Are you as educated as you could be? I would say to young men who are
okay. So that probably continued after that, but again, clips get shortened for the Twitter. Something wrong, huh? Something wrong with the guy. Anyway, so we're approaching almost we went over an hour. We're almost to an hour and a half. I think I've done my due diligence here. I think I've given you a solid amount of showtime here. Yeah, we're at an hour and 21 minutes. Looks like I got a second viewer somewhere. So, yeah, well, you know, again, I don't have my whiskey, but cheers to whoever's out there watching. Good seeing you. Good seeing you. Good having you by. And thank you for stopping by. We'll be back Wednesday afternoon, 6 p.m. Central. Right here. Again, I'm still going to keep working at this Rumble Studio, trying to get it to work. I did get the Rumble static stream to work. Oh, hey, Singlet. Cheers and welcome. Over on Rumble. Yeah, so I'm going to keep trying to get the Rumble Studio to work. If not, I may have to go ahead and pay for StreamYard for another month, which I'm not opposed to. But I won't really have to make that decision until after the first of the year. If you're not going to be here, well, I guess it's a little early for Happy New Year's for folks. We're still a week out, and you know we might have 3 more streams before then. So I won't wish everyone a Happy New Year just yet. I will wish you a good week. Hope the start of everyone's week is pleasant, and I hope everyone has decent enough weather. Oh, dear Lord, my roof was leaking last night, so we're going to have to hire a handyman to come plug some holes on our roof and maybe even make a claim to our home insurance. So that's going to be fun. So yeah, hopefully you folks don't have to deal with stuff like that. I mean, granted, I'm not trying to make my my misfortunes seem worse than y'all's misfortunes. I'm sure everybody's got shit they're dealing with. I'm not asking for empathy or sympathy. I'm just saying that's what's going on here at the Mild household, and you know, we're working to overcome them. And as I'm sure you folks out in the audience are. So yeah, hopefully you folks have a good week, and hopefully you all had a good enough Christmas. Hopefully you connected with loved ones and celebrated the holiday in spirit, and were able to see the joy of children and take a little bit of happiness home with you from the holidays. So yeah, take a second, click the like button, hit the follow button if you've not done so already. Take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. Follow me on the social media down in the description of this video. Outlast the haters. Don't get any on you. And if you do, rub it in real good. Catch you next time here on Mild's Culture Plate. Merry Christmas, everybody.